me again. So I had the opportunity to spend a little bit more time with this device. Not too much more time, but a little bit more time. I had a chance to check out the video that they posted. I think they posted it yesterday. It was a good video, I guess. It sounded as if there was like a voiceover, like a text-to-speech or an AI speech. And they covered the basics. They went very quickly, and they went through it maybe a different way than I would normally go through it. So I tried to digest some of it. I probably watched only I watched the whole thing, but I really focused in on maybe the first third, where they were just kind of going over the basics of the beat creation. So before I look at the advanced features, I wanted to just see if I can get something started. So that's really what I'm hoping to do in this video, is just start a new patch and make a very simple beat. Play around with some of the features. I'm hoping I could just make basic beat, maybe add some effects. I'm really into parameter locking and automating of different features. So I'm hoping I could do some of that. I know the unit can support it. It's just a matter of, do I know enough? Am I able to do it? Or do I have to look through the manual again and spend more time on the YouTube video? So that's what I'll try to do, and I'll take you on that journey. But before I actually turn on this device, I have to do this. I wasn't sure if there was a screen protector. All right, so I'll just turn it on. It takes a moment to load. I don't know what patch this is. It's like the first, maybe the default one. It looks like it says P022, so maybe patch 22. Not sure. So if I were to just hit play, just playing one of the presets, kind of cool. But I really don't want to play with presets. I mean, maybe some of the sounds in there that are pre-made, I'll use them at least to get started with before I do any more advanced sound design and just kind of experimentation. But there's a lot going on when it comes to these presets. There's just like the sequence, and then there's other effects, things triggering on and off. So I want to clear that out. And they didn't say this in the video. I looked in the manual, and if you hit the CLR, which I'm assuming means clear, and the PTN, which probably means pattern, you'll see this little menu here, and it's just kind of asking you, what are you trying to clear? What type of pattern data you want to clear? You could clear everything. You could clear just the notes. You could clear the parameter lock, some other things. I want to do a clean slate, so I'm just going to leave it on all. You could see I could move around if I wanted to, but I'll just hit all. So now the whole pattern is clear. So if I hit play now, it plays. You could see this kind of moving along in the step sequencer, but there's no sound. So I think that's a pretty good start. And also it's set to 16 steps. I'm going to stop it. I'll play around with that and extend it a little bit by hitting the CFG, which is configuration. You have some features that I've played with a little bit, and I should note that I really have no idea what I'm doing here. I looked at the manual a little bit. It's like 280 pages or something. I just kind of searched for a few different things, and I watched the video and tried to get as much as I could out of it, at least for what I was hoping to accomplish today. But hitting config here, I could change some basic things with the sequence. The length is probably the most important thing for me right now. I'll leave it to 16, which is just one page, just so it's a little bit more visual and I don't have to scroll through the different steps. And I could change the division, the choke. I've played with a little bit. I probably won't touch that today. And transpose, I don't really know what that would do. I guess it would just transpose and maybe raise everything up a note or two. I'm not going to play with that either. So really not going to be doing anything. I might mess with the length a little bit, but probably not. I am curious about the sequence here. There's a little menu, sequence. It says normal, and I could toggle it to random, STTR. I don't know, a stutter, what that could mean. Definitely could look that up and educate myself, but I'll live in ignorance. So I'll leave it at the sequence norm just to keep it simple. That's the configuration menu, and I'm sure there's a lot more to it. But without changing anything else, I think all the sounds from that preset are still here because I cleared the pattern, but I didn't clear the sound. So if I start pressing the buttons, you could still hear them. So this is probably obvious, but these are assigned to specific drums. So the BD is a bass drum, you have the snare, the tom, clap, effects, which I've seen in some of the presets, and here too. It's usually like maybe a bass or melodic element, something tonal. You have a closed hi-hat, open hi-hat, and I'm guessing cymbal. So kind of a cool sound there. And I'm going to probably just play with the sounds a bit. So SND, I thought meant send. I'm used to seeing SND like on a mixer for like an effect send. That's not what SND is, it's the sound. So it's the sound menu. And there's a lot of different options here. I saw in the video you could do a release and you could change the release. So if you think of it as just like an envelope for the amp or the amplitude, you could play around with that. The pitch, I think that's self-explanatory, but I want to actually change the sound. So I did this before. I don't know if I can remember what I did before, but I guess I'll start with the bass drum. Using the first knob, this is the A knob, I could cycle through. So that's pretty nice. And if I were to go to the other sounds, I could change them as well. So I won't spend too much time trying to find the perfect sounds, but I could give a little sample. Okay, that's cool. So I like this. Maybe I want it to be a little bit more open. So just kind of lasting a little bit longer, and I'll pitch it down. Okay, I'm not noticing anything, so that's probably not as obvious as I just said a few seconds ago, because that doesn't seem like changing it. Now this might be just noise, which doesn't have a pitch, so maybe that's why I'm not hearing anything. But I like that. And this is for toms, but I see that it's saying BD salt. Maybe you could see that. So it's looking like it's going through the bass drum patches. And I know there is a way to actually filter on certain types of sounds. So if you're looking for a tom sound, you could filter that. I'm going to actually maybe try to figure that out right now. Okay, so pretty simple actually. So I was just scrolling through here to look for the different sounds, and you could kind of go through all of them, but if you click the A button, because it is a button, then you could actually see it in this list view. And on the bottom, I didn't actually understand what all this meant right away. It took me a second, but then I realized, oh, well, it's filtering based on category. So if I want to do toms, I could click the tom button, and now it'll jump to everything that starts with a TT, or I'm guessing that's tom. So that's interesting. And I noticed you could like filter on both. So if you have something that has a tag of a snare and a tom, it probably would appear here. But I was playing with that and it doesn't look like anything, at least by default, shares those tags. So it looks to be mutually exclusive per the sound. So that's interesting. Pretty cool feature that you could do those type of tags. As far as the sound, let's just say 808. Okay, and let's see if pitch works with this. There we go, it does. So that snare, I'm guessing because it was like white noise, and it didn't have pitch. That's why I couldn't hear a difference. Maybe. So this is also something I noticed. If you're going through this screen here, let's say if you weren't going through this screen, you could hit this to sample the sound, and then as you're moving through it, you could trigger this to hear it. But that's not the case here, because if you press these, you're turning on and off these filters. So I can't actually sample it that way. So if I want to just filter and clap, I would select this, highlights or lights up in blue, and then I could go through with this little D-pad. So this is very familiar. Like if you're working out of a DAW like Ableton, you're just scrolling through all these sounds. Kind of reminds me of that filtering. So I'm familiar with that. I do a lot of work within Ableton. So probably drawing some comparisons between this and Ableton and some other groove boxes that I'm familiar with. So I kind of like it. I like the flexibility. I probably prefer searching this way than just scrolling through the sounds, but I guess it's good to have options. Keep it as a beep, I like that. All right. Sounds good. I like that sound, but I think I'll change it. I actually liked one of the open sounds. Pretty gratuitous delay on this. I wasn't going to get into effects too much, but I might have to, because that's a lot. That's a lot of delay. Tink. Okay. So I think I have all the sounds. And for recording the pattern, in the video, they kind of start with this sound, which I guess is a logical thing to start with. Maybe configuration, like if you know the length already that you want, like if you want it 16 or 32 or whatever, you might want to set that up first. But here we are, I'm leaving it at 16. And if I want to program it like a step sequencer, I could just hold the whatever pad I'm looking to actually program and just punch it in. So I'll leave it like that. And it should sound, when I hit play, it should cycle through just what's lit up here, because it's only 16 steps. And it should be a very basic kick pattern. Okay. So I'm going to move on to a different sound. And what's kind of nice, and this reminds me of the Electribe 2 from Korg that I'm very familiar with, is that you could select the different sounds, but when you do, you trigger them. Now, if you're making a beat like this, it doesn't really matter, but if you're doing something live, it's pretty cool. You could just hold function and change the sounds that you're selecting without actually triggering them. So in a live setting, I think that would be kind of critical if you wanted to manipulate things without triggering them first. So for this, I'm going to just kind of punch in a beat. I'll just play it. I like to do a bit of a hybrid. I typically will just program in maybe a bass drum, maybe the hats, and then I'll perform the rest of the elements and go back and forth, playing around. But I try to do most of the things in a performative way, just because I think you could capture more of like a human element if you're playing things in, especially with velocities and aftertouch and a lot of other things that this thing supports. So for the actual snare, if I want to record it, I'll just hit record. And I can record anything. It's the snare selected, but I could actually play in anything I want, but I'll just stick to the snare and play it in. It's not going to be quantized, and I'll show you how we could do that after. Okay, basic, nothing too crazy. And you can see it's showing where it appears, even though it's not quantized. Now, if I wanted to, I can quantize it, and you could quantize things for each track. So I'm just going to stop it before I get really tired of that beat. And by hitting config, and then I think you have to hit it twice, because at first it'll just show the length, but if you hit it again, then you'll go to this other menu. You can see the first time it says sequence, and hit again GRV. I don't know what GRV stands for. But you can see quantize is there, and it's mapped to D. So I'll raise this up to, I guess I'll just put it at 100 to demonstrate. So it was a little bit off. My timing isn't super great, but it wasn't that bad. So you might be able to hear a difference when I hit play. So you could hear it snap to the grid, and knowing that I could do it at a different percentage, maybe do it at 80, again, kind of capturing some of that human element. Now, if I wanted to play in the other notes, I can. And then I can kind of play around and fix things. So you could play it in and then change it through the step sequencer and then change it back. So very flexible with that. And for something like, let's say, close hi-hats, I'll just hold this down and I'll, in a sense, punch it in. Okay, sounds like there's a bit of a fade or a choke, something going on with that. So let's see if I could figure that out. Okay, yeah, I figured that out. So it's up to 128 beats. I thought I cleared that, and I thought it would reset to 16. I might have missed that, or I might have accidentally changed it. But now it should be looping perfectly here. Okay, so this is kind of a basic beat creation. I do want to get into effects. I have to really brush up on that. There's a lot of like reverb and delay, and honestly, just the way that I use groove boxes, or really any hardware device, be it something more involved like this, or something kind of simple like that, pocket operator. I do want to eventually get this into a DAW for me to do more of the heavy lifting when it comes to effects. So things like delay, especially reverb, I think this reverb sounds all right. I haven't messed with it, so I don't want to say anything about it that might not be accurate, because I really am not too experienced with it. But I like a lot of the reverb plugins that I use. And I guess that goes for delay and a lot of other things, compression, distortion, whatever. I think probably the quality will likely be better after I put this into a DAW. I checked the manual about exporting audio or getting audio out of this, and it had a few references to exporting, but that looked to be more about like the wavetables or like the sounds more so than like the layers. So what I think it is, and I'll just have to double check this, I think I'll have to just record from the stereo out and then move through the different tracks, muting things and turning things on and off. So I would get each layer separate, isolated, and then I could do some of these other processes that I'll probably do in the box opposed to actually doing it on the device. I do want to learn how to do all that. I think this would be a great device, like on the go or on the couch, going to the beach or something, to a park, you want to make some beats. Probably a lot of good features, especially when it comes to arrangements and mixing and mastering. That will be nice to know how to do for those rare occasions, but for the most part, I want to make beats just like I did here and then get it into the computer where I could do more editing. There's other things I would like to do. I know that you could use these buttons here on the D-pad for like a stuttering effect or beat repeat type effect. I know that you could do some sort of modulation with velocity and aftertouch. I'll figure that out because I think that is something that's going to make this shine, is being able to record the automation. So I'll work on that, and I'll also kind of experiment with some of these other punch-in effects and try to get a handle on some of these other features. So that's a very quick take of how to just get up and running, clearing things out, programming in a beat through the step sequencer here, selecting a few different things on the bottom, the sounds and the configuration. I didn't actually mess with this other than fixing the symbol, but some cool features here. So very, very high level, very basic stuff, but I think I'll call it here because this video is getting a lot longer than I expected for such a simple overview. So more to come in the future. If you're interested in learning more, click subscribe and just add a comment. Let me know what you're interested in. I now have the manual available to me. I'll try to make time to read through it and watch some more videos. If you gained anything out of this video, if you could give me a thumbs up, that'd be super appreciated. And if you want to see more, go ahead, hit subscribe if you're interested in learning more. All right, I'll leave it there.